Okay, hi everybody. How are you? This is Amber Romaniak with you. Welcome to the first vlog. This is Healing Adrenal Fatigue Part 1, and I'm really excited to have an intimate, authentic conversation with you here. One of my words for 2024 are authenticity and simplicity. And I'm like, you know what? I've had my business for 10 and a half years, and I'm still feeling like kind of conditioned that I have to show up like super polished. My hair and makeup have to be done really good. I have to have the perfect outfit on to like be professional and so that people take you seriously and like would want to consider, hiring you in your business. And I'm all for that. But authenticity means that I'm going to show up and I'm going to make these vlogs whenever my intuition is like, hey, it's time to add another section. So welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. We're going to have a great chat today. I'm going to move this a bit. Actually, we're going to talk about adrenal fatigue. I'm going to talk about healing adrenal fatigue. The first part of this is going to really be about, a little bit about why I'm healing adrenal fatigue yet again for the third time, situations out of my control. I'll get a bit into the story. All different sections of this, I'm going to get into, what it is, the symptoms of it, testing, why it's so overlooked, why so many people have it, and it's sadly so normalized and it shouldn't be. I'm going to talk about how it impacts your physical, mental, emotional, energetic health, your frequency, all these different things. I'm going to talk about how it's impacted me. I'm also going to show you and talk to you about different things I'm doing to balance my adrenal glands and regulate my cortisol, fingers crossed, hopefully for the last time. Because this is what I do. This is the work that I do. I've helped thousands of women and men identify the roots of their hormone imbalances, their gut issues, their fatigue, their weight loss blocks, their cravings, their binge, emotional eating, food addiction, binging and purging, building body confidence, and really helping you like deepen your connection with your body and become aware so that if something starts to feel off, you know what it is and you can take the aligned steps because now you have the tools, the knowledge, the awareness, you've gotten the support, the guidance, whatever it is. So welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. And today in part 1, we're going to talk a little bit about why I ended up with adrenal fatigue again, what it is, what the symptoms are, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about, this journey and how it can impact us. And then, of course, I'm going to chunk this out into ideally like 10-minute chunks. I don't want to make them really long because I know people have a short attention span. You want to learn fast. And I feel like I want to keep the energy like really good and heightened and just like break it down into easy digestible chunks. So first off, welcome. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe, like this if you want to see more content like this. I'm really excited to bring a vlog and like just bring like the intimate, like in the moment stuff rather than the scheduled time of like making videos, which of course I also love to do, but I just feel like people are craving authenticity. And like, this is gonna be me sitting or walking around showing you stuff. These aren't gonna be heavily edited. It's literally gonna be like me putting the chunks together if I have to make separate ones, otherwise one big piece. I don't wanna heavily edit this. I don't wanna make it look flashy. It's just meant to be simple, but packed full of value and information to help you on your journey to food and body freedom. And to me, food and body freedom is like, you have optimal energy, you've regulated your hormones, your digestion is happy, and you're free of the bloating and the irregular bowel movements, your inflammation has come down, you have mental clarity, and the brain fog is gone, right? You're sleeping well, you feel in tune and in touch with your body, your cravings have fallen away, you have healed the binge, emotional eating, food addiction, whatever's going on for you. You actually like and love your body and feel connected to your body, and therefore you're able to access more confidence, more power, etc. And so that's what this is all about. That's to me what body freedom is all about. And I've helped thousands of women and men do this. So I'm excited to share this like personal journey. I think everything happens for a reason. And probably if it wasn't for the experience of the last 6 months, I wouldn't have ended up with adrenal fatigue again. And some other really unexpected circumstances that were good wouldn't have happened. That probably wouldn't have led me here to start this video logging with you. Is that what it's called? Video blog? Video logging? Okay, so welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Okay, so I'm curious, leave me a comment below. Do you suspect you have adrenal fatigue? Do you have adrenal fatigue or adrenal burnout? We'll talk about the differences. Are you suspecting that you think you have it, but you have no idea like where to start or what to do to address it? I really want to hear from you, because the more you engage, the more I can tap into what kind of content to create. This is for you. This is essentially like me envisioning that you're sitting behind my phone as a friend and we're having this conversation, and I'm just helping give you insight and inquiry into something that I find about 90 to 95% of my clients struggle with. And I've had thousands of clients in the last 10 and a half years since I've had my business, and we've done the testing, and the cortisol is usually 9 times out of 10 way too high in an adrenal fatigue state or way too low in an adrenal burnout state. Now, all 3 times that I've had adrenal fatigue, it's been way too high. I'll get maybe into the story about why it was high the last 2 times. First time was because I was yo-yo dieting, binge eating, food addiction, binging and purging, restricting, over exercising, hating my body. And that was the whole journey that like catapulted me into healing and building my business. The second time was we lived in a townhouse, had noisy neighbors for 10 months that were abruptly waking us up from like 3 to 7 a.m. nonstop every night for 10 months, and also making noise when we were trying to go to sleep. That was absolutely so frustrating. And then they moved out. And so we might as well get into the story about why I got adrenal fatigue again. So we lived in a townhouse, loved our house, usually had really nice neighbors. However, the one thing about having a townhouse, if any of you live in them, is you share a wall with your neighbors on the other side, but there's no one living above you. So essentially, there's not a lot of soundproofing, and it's like our bedroom, the wall, and then the neighbor's bathroom in their bedroom. And so obviously you can hear like the medicine door cabinet slamming, the doors slamming, the cabinet doors slamming. They must have hardwood floor, and you can hear people walking around. And I don't think people are really like aware or told to be mindful of noise, because, you know, it really had a significant impact on our sleep the last couple of years. So we got new neighbors about 6 months ago, and I had finally healed the adrenal fatigue for the second time in the summer. My energy was back, everything was feeling good. And then we had new neighbors move in, and unfortunately the noise got really bad really fast. Some nights it was like 30 hours straight. And then it wasn't just at night, you know, when we were trying to go to bed at 9:30, because we go to bed early for good sleep and optimal hormones. It was, you know, multiple wakings through the night. It was, you know, unfortunately like screaming and banging, and a young child that I don't think, you know, had any idea what he was doing, but wasn't getting disciplined. And so it's like my nervous system nonstop was just in this stress response, so frustrated, so irritating, to be like, I take such good care of myself, and it's literally out of my control that this circumstance keep happening. I know how to regulate my nervous system. I know what vitamins I need to take to keep my adrenal health in check. I eat really good. I don't overbook my schedule. Like, I can't relate to the sense of like I don't have kids, so I don't have that added element. So for those of you that do, I work with a lot of clients that have kids, and we can totally deal with this. It's just everyone's schedule and life looks different. But it's so frustrating when you take really good care of yourself and you've already healed something a couple of times, but then circumstances completely out of your control keep happening that keep triggering it. And so we got fed up with the noise after a few months. We obviously did our due diligence and filed complaints and different things, but nothing was doing the trick. And so we essentially got catapulted, you know, after one night of 30 hours of noise straight. And we're like, we need to start looking at houses and get out of here. Like, this is not going to stop. It's a revolving door. There's always issues on this one side. Maybe it's like the sign that we need to get out of here. So then comes the emotional roller coaster of looking to buy a house. We found the house. It's amazing. We're here now and have been for a little while. It's absolutely incredible. And it allows more room space, nice light to film videos and things like that. But it's like, that was November, like the emotional roller coaster of buying a house, getting financing. Now it's like, okay, we got to get our townhouse ready to put on the market. We've got to paint, touch the place up. Hopefully it sells really fast. Thank goodness it did. Then we got to pack, because we're moving, right, in 3 weeks. And holy moly. So it's like I was already so exhausted. And sometimes we don't have a choice. Like, obviously I say, when you have adrenal fatigue, try and rest and bring in as much balance as you can. But sometimes life happens and there's only so much you can do, because there's deadlines. Like, I can't be like, well, I have adrenal fatigue, so we're going to delay moving for, you know, a month. No, like, we had to get the house ready, we had to pack, and we had to move and unpack then on the other side of that, right? So I was like, hey, body, like, we're going to have to kind of push through. I don't normally suggest this. I was still getting in my meditations in the morning. I'm like, we have to keep eating good. I kept doing food prep. We're taking our vitamins. We're drinking lots of water. And we made it through to the other side of the move. Thank goodness. And it's so peaceful and so quiet here, which is something we haven't had in a very long time. And no more noisy neighbors, truly the best part, because I tell you, it was driving me insane. When you don't have a regulated nervous system and you have adrenal fatigue, you are tired, you can get really exhausted, and you can have really intensive afternoon energy crashes. So that's kind of like the journey and why I ended up with adrenal fatigue again, completely out of my control. It's all good. Everything happens for a reason. The universe is like, you know what? Time for you guys to up level and go to a house where you're not sharing walls with anyone, and it's beautiful. And I'm so grateful for what we manifested. And it just feels so good to breathe and have peace and quiet and not hear noise all day and all night. I feel for any of you that have gone through that or are going through that, it's not fun at all. So, what is adrenal fatigue? Well, let's talk a little bit about that. So, adrenal fatigue, what the adrenal glands are is they're two walnut shaped glands in the middle of your back, and they produce cortisol, which is your stress hormone. And so when you are abruptly woken up in the night, or there's constant noise all day that is really annoying, when you have high stress levels, you're overbooked, you're people pleasing, over giving, you're yo-yo dieting and then binging, and then you're restricting, you're over exercising, you're over caffeinated, you're not drinking enough water, you're skipping meals, you're not eating enough, you're doing really restrictive diets, and then you're falling deep into binge and emotional eating, you're in constant negative self-talk with your body, and you're always frustrated, you're constantly feeling negative and really reactive. Maybe you're stressed about stuff going on in the world, you're stressed about stuff going on at home, you've got a lot of commitments, gut flora issues. There's all kinds of things that can start to create this massive picture of adrenal fatigue. So the more stress responses we have, even being on your phone too long, right? And that's where I'm like, well, I'm a creator, I'm a business owner, I have my business online, I have to create. So I'm always wearing my blue light glasses from Bon Charge. Katie and Andy, big shout out. They're amazing, lovely people, created incredible products to help us with all these EMFs and the blue light from our phones and computers. But there's so many things that can create and fuel this adrenal fatigue. And so when your cortisol starts to surge too high because your body's flooding all this cortisol through your body, you end up with high cortisol, and that's where the adrenal fatigue comes in. Now, what puts us into fight or flight is there's a kind of a fight or flight center in the brain called the amygdala. And when it feels, you feel fear, or you have a stress response, the amygdala's like on, flooding adrenaline and cortisol through my body, flooding adrenaline and cortisol through my body. And that is really what kicks off this whole thing. And if we don't course correct that stress response in a few minutes, then the cascade of hormones just keeps happening, and it just starts impacting everything else, and eventually can impact your thyroid, for women, progesterone, estrogen levels, for men, testosterone levels, and so much more. I'll get into like the domino effect and the cascade and the other things that this can impact if you guys want to hear about it in a future vlog about adrenal fatigue. And I'm not just going to talk about adrenal fatigue in the blog. I'm going to talk about thyroid stuff and estrogen dominance and low progesterone and emotional eating, and sky's the limit, because I've been through all these things and I've healed them. Luckily, I only had to heal binge eating once. But I really have the personal experience and the professional experience of just helping so many people with these things, and understanding the physical, emotional, energetic connections. So as this adrenaline and cortisol is just constantly flooding through your body, and you're getting, all these symptoms, like this is what we really want to look at. Now, I'm not here to give you a diagnosis. I'm just here to give you signs of adrenal fatigue where the cortisol is getting too high. So heavy fatigue or exhaustion, doesn't matter how much you sleep, you wake feeling tired, you're tired all day, you have pronounced afternoon energy lulls, trouble falling asleep. This is a huge sign that the cortisol is too high at bedtime. Naturally, it should be a little bit high in the morning, but then it should naturally fall and be the lowest before bed. You have heightened refined sugar and carbohydrate cravings, heightened salt cravings, like you're craving sugar and salt like crazy, increased appetite levels, abdominal weight gain, you feel more puffy, retain more water. And that's one thing that I definitely notice when this creeps up for me, is I retain more water, or I just feel more sensitive, maybe a little bit more to food. My digestion's actually been really good, thank goodness, but I feel like I retain water more easily. And for me, I process and let go of all these things in the night. So one thing I'm still having struggles with is my sleep. My sleep has not really improved since we've moved, even though it's quiet, which I'm so grateful for. Luckily, I'm not having troubles falling asleep. I'm waking in the night. to have to get up and go pee, and then I'm coming back to bed, and sometimes it's taking me a while to fall back to sleep, and that's because my liver is processing a lot of anger and frustration from the previous experience. We process a lot of emotion at night, which then can like give us a stress response and keep us awake. I don't want to be awake, but it's just part of the process of things regulating. So I'll talk more about sleep and all of that in another vlog. Let me know if you want to hear more about sleep and those waking times and what all of that means, because it all does mean something, and your body's so intelligent. Your body's always trying to tell you what's going on. It's just that we haven't been taught how to listen or educated on how to listen. Other symptoms are brain fog. That is a huge sign of adrenal fatigue. For women, you may have fertility issues, troubles getting pregnant, miscarriage. You may have irregular cycles. It disappears. It's really short. It's only like 19 to 23 days. You're only having a bleed for 2 or 3 or 4 days. You're having troubles losing weight. There's all these things. I find sensitive digestion to become more common. You feel more bloating, pain, discomfort. You may notice you have more irregular bowels. Your memory isn't as good. And it can be so many things. And that's why getting testing done and actually getting your cortisol tested in the morning is really important, because it'll give us an accurate read of if it's high, and if it's elevated, there's certain ways to address it, versus if it's too low and that's adrenal burnout, where you've already had a massive high of cortisol production, but then the adrenal glands start to get so depleted that they like run out of cortisol to produce. And then you get to the point where you're in an adrenal burnout, which is where your adrenals are so depleted that they're not producing enough cortisol, which we do need to produce some through the day to like keep us focused and functioning. So I've had clients on both sides. I'd say 85% are too high, and about 15% are on the low end. And we can course correct either way. And I will tell you, still to this day, now this time it's not near as bad as the first time I had adrenal fatigue, but the first time I had adrenal fatigue and I got my labs done, here in Canada, the range, and again, ranges are way too big for testing. I'm going to go into that into a different video. And if you want to get testing done and you feel like whomever you are working with is not advocating for you, I'm happy to connect with you and talk about helping you with that, doing testing, doing a health assessment, doing some work together if you'd like. The details are below to book a body freedom consultation, or to email info@amberprove.ca. Just put testing in the subject line and we can have a conversation, and I can help you get all that sorted out. Doesn't matter if you live in Canada, United States, overseas, got that all figured out, so not to worry. But my cortisol was almost 2,000. It should be about 350. Okay, so it's still the most extreme rating I've ever seen, and thank God my body didn't give out on me. It almost felt like she was going to, but she didn't. My last go off with it was about 700, and I think it's probably about the same right now. I'm waiting to go and get more updated testing done now that we're moved and settled. I was kind of wanting to wait a month or two in hopes that my sleep would improve to see a better rating. So it'll come. But that's that adrenal fatigue, and with the burnout, it's like even more exhaustion, and your immune system can get really impacted with all of this. So you can get sick more easily, because the more cortisol you're producing, the more it suppresses your immune system. So if you're the person catching like every cold, every flu, right? You're staying sick for weeks or months, you're often having to take antibiotics. Like, these are all signs of potential cortisol imbalance. If you have Hashimoto's, thyroid issues, low estrogen and progesterone, or estrogen dominance, which I'll talk more about all this stuff in future videos, let me know what you want to hear more about. Like I said, your input is so valued, and it's your input that's going to really help guide what I talk more about next, other than my intuition as well. But all of these are connected to cortisol, and usually it starts with a cortisol adrenal issue that then fuels all these other things I've just been talking about. And I've had the thyroid issues, I've had the estrogen dominance, the low progesterone, etc. So I'm going to talk about all of that in upcoming episodes of this. So it just gives you a bit of an insight. So do you have these symptoms? Have you had testing done? Are you curious about what steps to take? Leave me a comment below. Ask whatever questions you have in the comments as well. I will do my best to respond to you, as well as answer some of them in updated episodes, because, sometimes there's so much information, we don't know what to do, we don't know where to start, we've been told we don't have it. that you're too young to have it. Well, I had my first bout of adrenal fatigue when I was like 22 years old. It's not an age thing. It is a stress, mindset, behavior, and environment thing. If you're stressed, if you're binge eating and you're yo-yo dieting and you're restricting and you hate your body and you're trying to chase the number on the scale and like people pleasing and you're overbooked and overwhelmed and you're constantly stressed, there's a good chance you might have a cortisol issue. It's not just, oh yeah, like you don't get this kind of stuff until you're in your 50s or 60s or 70s. I've worked with women from 21 to 90 and seen it all across the board, and age has nothing to do with it. And also in the sense that you can balance this, you can regulate it, you can overcome it. I have helped women up into their 90s balance their hormones and clear out all these things I'm talking about. So your body is always trying to heal. It's just that we're by accidentally getting in the way because we don't change our habits, beliefs, behaviors. We don't get the root deep information that we need, or we're not working with the right people that are, they're not advocating for you and they're not giving you what you need to get you the answers and the guidance. So rest assured, I am here to advocate for you, to champion you, to cheer you on and let you know I'm human too. And even though I've, had my business and helped so many with this, like I've had my own stuff too. No one's perfect. And that's why this blog is just authentic, simple, me showing up, sharing, because it's important. And, I think that it's just sharing like this just feels so good. It just feels like I'm talking to a bunch of my friends and just talking to people who are interested in this subject. So I'm going to leave it at that for now because I'm already to 21 minutes. One of the reasons I love YouTube though is I can talk and talk and talk and I don't get cut off. Whereas like Instagram stories, I can only talk for 60 seconds and then I get cut off. So like I said, I want to open up this narrative for all of you. If you're curious about this, are you dealing with it right now? Are you working on healing it and overcoming it right now? Are you like, holy crap, everything you just said, I feel like I'm struggling with. Like, where do I start? Leave a comment below. Leave any of your questions. If you want to have a more one-on-one connection, you can email info@amberprue.ca. That will be in the description below for us to connect and talk more about what's going on for you. Also, like I said, if you're wanting to connect and get on Zoom together, I do offer a 30-minute body freedom consultation. The link is also in the description for that. And if you're like, oh my gosh, I loved this, like, can you please film a bazillion more vlogs, but like it's going to take time to do that? Do you have any other resources I can check out? Yes, I've got my podcast, the No Sugarcoating Podcast, with almost 500 episodes. I think it'll be June and we're going to have to do something so epic to celebrate 500 episodes. So make sure you come in along for the journey. But I do post most of the videos for the podcast here on YouTube, but go to amberprue.ca/podcast. You can click the description link below and you can listen to and like binge listen to all the episodes and learn so much about your thoughts, your beliefs, your behaviors, your relationship with food, your hormones, your gut health, your cravings, blood sugar, energy frequency, because I'm a sensitive soul, I'm an empath, so I talk about that too. It's all connected. So welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm excited to really bring more energy to YouTube this year. It is one of my goals and intentions. So I'm going to be dropping mini little bits of information on shorts and of course, longer stuff here on YouTube. So stay tuned for part 2. In part 2, we're going to dive into what my, I guess, kind of like routine looks like, things I'm doing self-care wise, things that I'm taking, supplement, herb, tea, food wise. We're also going to talk about like do's and don'ts of, healing adrenal fatigue, like the things that make it worse and really drag out, like getting over it, and the things that are going to help you the best when it comes to regulating it. Like I said, sleep is one of the most important things, and I'm still waking up in the middle of the night, liver processing, gallbladder processing, etc., which I'll talk more about. So I'm still pretty tired, but I know that I will overcome it. I rest a lot. I do a lot of self-care. I take really good vitamins. We eat really well. We go to bed early. So it's just like that. Oh, if I could just get that middle of the night piece sorted out, which I will, then it will shift. So stay tuned. Make sure you are subscribed so you get notified right away when a new vlog is up or any other content for that matter. Give this a like if you're liking this content. It just really helps me know that this is the kind of stuff that you guys want to see. And of course, give me feedback, ask your questions. If you can relate to any of this, leave a comment below. Thank you for being with me today. I'm excited for the next episode and we'll see you really soon. Bye.